So I've been at this for nearly 6 years, ever since I became mayor, when I declared the long-term structural budget deficit in San Jose as public enemy #1 in my very first State of the City speech. So I've learned a few things along the way. I've paid a pretty high political tuition, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. So lesson #1, that there really are two objectives in dealing with the pension reform. Two objectives. To me, both of equal value. First is we have to make sure that the employees get what they have earned, that they get paid what they have earned. Second, we have to deliver services, reasonable level of services, to the taxpayers and residents of our city. That is our mission. And to do both of those at the same time is what makes it really hard to find an answer. Now, if you want to do one or the other, it's pretty simple. But both are equally important objectives to me, so you can just take that into consideration as you listen to what I have to say. The second thing I've learned after hours and hours and hours and weeks and months of walking around this problem, looking at it from every angle, top and bottom, side to side, is the central problem is the benefit structure that we have is too expensive. These benefits cost too much. The cities cannot afford them, and the employees cannot afford them. And you can't solve this problem with actuarial assumption changes. As interesting as that argument is, it doesn't change the cost of the benefit. The benefits cost what they cost because the employees have earned them and you have to pay them. The third thing that I've learned is the only feasible way, I believe, to solve the problem, dealing with the costs, achieving both objectives, is you have to reduce future accruals for current employees. And you can do that with the percentage per year changes, stretching out the retirement age, slowing down the COLAs. There's several things you can do, but you have to deal with the current employees, and you do it with the future accruals. Because if you don't, you're not going to solve the problem. If you don't, you will do maybe what we did in the state of California, which was good, but it's essentially a 10% solution. And I have to work to that 100% solution, not a 10% solution, and I'll explain why here. So this is the background of what drove us to take the political risks, to do the fight, and it was a fight. You heard Bob Brownstein earlier. Trust me, it was a fight. Bob's an excellent representative of the union position in San Jose, and a great example of how difficult it is to negotiate a solution. Unfunded liabilities. This is the optimistic scenario. 7.5% discount rate, 7.5% rate of return. $3.4 billion of unfunded liabilities as of June 2011. It's up since then, because last year's return was not 7.5%, not even 0.5%. So it's up. Those unfunded liabilities are killing us because we're having to pay them off. This is a 10-year history of what we paid. This is not a projection. This is not assumptions. These are real dollars. $73 million to $245 million in 10 years. And if you've read the work that Joe Nation has done, you'll see there are many other cities in the state of California that have the same kind of ramp up. That's big dollars. $245 million is what we paid last year and this year. This year it was flat as a result of actions we took the prior year. It's more than 20% of our general fund. And the cost per employee, for those of you who have to make a payroll, and there's probably a few people here who understand that, the retirement costs are more than 50% of payroll and going up. And this number is going up because the actuaries for our independent retirement boards are telling us the cost is going to continue to go up for another 10 or 12 years as we work off the liabilities, unfunded liabilities. How did we manage in 10 years with those great increases in costs? Revenues did not keep up with the cost increases. Therefore, we shrank our workforce. We cut 2,000 people out of our workforce. We cut cops, we cut firefighters, librarians, community center workers, you name it. We've cut them, mostly by attrition, but in the last couple of years, we laid off firefighters one year. The next year, we laid off police officers. Now, you know a mayor is getting desperate, and a city is getting desperate when you're laying off police officers and firefighters. And desperate we are, because this is an existential threat to the city. If you consider what the mission of the city is, to provide services to its residents and taxpayers, which I think is the mission of the city, continuation of that was a recipe for disaster. Continuation of that is a recipe for following Stockton, Vallejo, Central Falls, Rhode Island, and other cities into bankruptcy. And as Mayor Loveridge said, bankruptcy is the last choice, and we did not want to go there. This is how it played out in the police department. Public safety is our #1 priority. If the fire chief is here, I say fire is #1. If the police chief is here, I say police is #1. But public safety is our #1 priority. There's a slide like this for the fire department. It looks pretty much like this. Police department, we increased the budget by nearly $100 million over 10 years, and yet we have less police officers working for us today than we had 10 years ago. We had money, we gave them money, wasn't enough because of skyrocketing costs. And you all know as costs are going up faster than revenues, that's going to come from somewhere, and it came out of staffing, 20% smaller police department than 10 years ago. So a little advice from outside third-party editorial commentary, Wall Street Journal. Some of you probably pay attention to what they say. So they're recommending the rest of California do what San Jose did, which is reduce benefits going forward. You got to freeze them. Say, okay, you've earned what you've earned. You get to keep what you've earned. We reduce them going forward. And it's still possible today, as far down the road as we are, that we can still pay people what they've earned if we freeze what they've got now and make the reductions going forward. If we just continue to let it grow, we will reach a point, Central Falls, Rhode Island, where you call up the retirees one day and say, sorry, we're cutting your payments in half. So, yes, this is probably what the rest of California should do. So what did we do? As much has been said about what we did with our ballot measure, Measure B in June, which passed by nearly 70% of the vote, it really wasn't all that complicated. New benefits for new employees, hey, everybody's doing that. Over a couple hundred cities have done that, I think, in California alone. Current employees, they're going to have to pay more for their benefits. A lot of people are doing that. In fact, the state of California just said current employees for the state of California are going to have to pay more for their benefits. It affects hundreds of thousands of people. But as I said, the city can't afford the benefit and the employees can't afford the benefit. So when the employees start paying towards the unfunded liabilities, our employees are facing probably a 13% increase in what they're paying today, a 13% of pay increase in what they're paying today. They can't afford that, really. I mean, that's tough. It's going to be hard. They're already paying a lot. So we wanted to give them an option to switch to a more modest, but still very good pension plan for future years. That optional choice is going to require the IRS to approve the changes in the plan. We're working on that, but the unions are trying to stop that at the national level, lobbying the Treasury to keep that from happening. Because the general strategy has been just say no. I think you heard that from Bob Brownstein earlier. Just say no will not solve the problem unless, of course, you believe that the federal government is going to step in with trillions of dollars and bail us all out. And if you believe that, well, keep praying. It's going to take more than prayer. So what still needs to be done in California from San Jose's perspective and the perspective of 8 of the 10 mayors of the largest cities in California? This is a letter that we sent to the mayor, or to the governor and the leaders in the legislature, is we need clear authority to be able to modify the future accruals of current employees. And we need the ability to give our employees a choice to go for a lower cost plan because they can't afford what we have, we can't afford what we have. What will that take? A constitutional amendment, because the law of vested rights in California is unsettled, but it's not based on the language of the California Constitution. It's case law. We can change our Constitution, and allow us to change future accruals so that we can pay what people have earned and accrued today. So that's what I think we need. That would be helpful to San Jose, helpful to other cities, and helpful to the state of California. And with that, you've heard the lessons from the front. There will be a test.